talk about that some in the second hour as well. And then also I want to deal with this a great story. I posted about it on our Facebook Live, our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. This deals with how cornrows, the hairstyle cornrows, how cornrows were used as an escape map for enslaved Africans in South America. How the cornrow hairstyle was used as an escape map for enslaved Africans in South America. We'll talk about that some in our second hour. And if we have time, I want to deal with Watergate, because the anniversary of the Watergate break-in is coming up June 17th. So next Sunday, all right, I'll be in Atlanta next Sunday, next weekend, this coming weekend for the Juneteenth celebration at Morris Brown College, 3-day Juneteenth celebration, June 15th through the 17th. I'll be speaking there that Saturday, the 16th. But there are some similarities between Watergate and what's going on right now with Trump. And it did not end up too well for Richard Nixon or the 48 people around Richard Nixon that went to prison. Didn't end up too well for them either, okay? All right, now on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you is based and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. Okay. All right. So let's bring them on the line. Let's bring them on the air. On the line, we have one of my teachers, the one and only Dr. Claud Anderson. All right, Dr. Claud Anderson, how you doing tonight, brother?
Fine. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing all right, man. Good to talk to you. Always good to have you on the air.
Well, I'm always glad to be on your program. You know, I have the utmost confidence in you and your professionalism, but more important, your wisdom and your commitment and your consciousness about our people. You are a model for our people.
Oh, thanks, brother. I appreciate that, man. Sure, you definitely appreciate that. Well, I talked to you last week, and I talked to you Friday, and I talked to you briefly today. And I wanted to have you back on. I interviewed you. I did a Facebook. Hello? Can you hear me?
I'm there.
Okay. Yeah, I did a Facebook Live broadcast with you February 19th on President's Day, February 19th, 2018. And people can check that out at our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. But I wanted to bring you on to talk about a few topics. First of all, I know you have if you have a radio on in the background.
No,
Oh, okay. All right. I know that you have your latest book out, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. And we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But there are a number of different topics that I wanted to talk to you about. One of them, I know Dr. Boyce Watkins, who's a friend of mine, did an interview with you a few days ago. And I know you talked about Alice Marie Johnson, right? So she's the Black woman who was sentenced to life in prison for cocaine trafficking and also money laundering in Tennessee back in 1996. So this past Wednesday, Donald John Trump gave her a commutation, not a pardon, but a commutation. Okay. And you talked some about that. And I think some people asked the question, well, why didn't President Obama give her a commutation? Did you comment on that?
No, not really.
Okay.
And, but I'm sure most of your listeners already know why he didn't.
Why didn't he?
He never would anyway. But and that's President Obama had received meritorious manumission many years ago. He has no intention of giving up the safety and sanctuaries or having been ruled certified, bona fide, safe. He's not going to give up his position to go around and try to do something identifiable with blacks. I don't care. I can't tell you how many whites have told me that. That's the only reason, Michael, they voted for him. It was because they knew he would be about as safe as you can get. And even my dentist told me he would be 5 or 6 times safer than a birth control pill on race matters.
Right. Now, we know that he gave more commutations than the past 11 presidents combined, and he gave a lot of commutations to Black Americans. Now, I encourage people, to check out the article from CNN.com from June 6, 2018. DOJ, Department of Justice, DOJ denied Alice Johnson's request for commutation 3 times in Obama administration. So the difference between the way President Obama did his commutations, and he did a record number, compared to Trump, is that President Obama followed the actual process in place going through the Department of Justice. And this is what the article lays out, going through the Department of Justice. So the Department of Justice reviews the requests for commutations or pardons. They make their decision. Then it goes to the White House for the president to review whether or not to do it or not. Well, it was denied 3 times in the Obama administration, but it was under the Department of Justice. When you actually read this, it never made it to the. Then the second one, why Obama didn't intervene in Alice Johnson's case, and this actually lays it out from somebody who has knowledge of what happened. So what Trump is doing, and I did a broadcast yesterday dealing with this. What Trump is doing, he's doing a lot of these pardons and commutations for a few different reasons, right? And you probably noticed what one of them is for show. Another one is to send a message to certain people who may be witnesses against him. Because when you look at what some of these people are being charged with, they're being charged with things that are similar to people who are going to be witnesses against him. All right, go ahead, brother, if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, well, okay, and you're absolutely right, Michael, right on time. But I tried as desperately as I could, as conscientiously as I could throughout my lifespan in politics, both national, domestic, international politics, to avoid getting involved in ceremonious, symbolic issues.
Right.
Those issues I thought were just they cause my people. It's called misdirection and magic.
Mm-hmm.
To get black folks to redirect their attention right away from the substance and get them to participate and wholly involve themselves in superficial, rear-fitting, non-frictional kind of activities,
right,
like a commutation or giving pardons to one black year, one. But that's a total waste of my time, and I feel it's the utmost insult to black folks. Anytime black folks' conditions in this country have never changed. Right now, over 51% of all the prisoners in the United States are still black. In 1860, on the eve of the Civil War, when you only had about 260 blacks who were free or quasi-free, over 51% of prisoners. And out of those 51% that are prisoners, 96% are black men. And I've had as many in one piece of history in a 20-year period where over 28 black men were lynched in a 20-year time period for superficial stuff like writing to a white woman, touching a white woman, then coming to a white man's home. I don't engage in that stuff. As black folk, I want my people to quit engaging and watching that stuff. They fall for it, and Donald Trump is going to use it.
Right.
Just thinking doing something substantive for black folk, and all he's doing is insulting them and wasting their damn time.
Right. And this is what I'm trying to explain to people. So what Trump said was that, now what's interesting is that Friday morning, and I watched it live on MSNBC, man. It was the most idiotic thing I've seen in a long time. But what Trump said was that, and I have the transcript of the back and forth with the media also from whitehouse.gov. He said that the players, well, first of all, he's doing a misdirection, right? So you have starting with Colin Kaepernick, right? August of 2016, Colin Kaepernick and then other players were protesting during the national anthem, protesting against the oppression of black people, protesting against police brutality, things like this, drawing attention to it. And they've been engaged in some things to deal with this, right? What Trump is doing, instead of dealing with criminal justice reform, and instead of dealing with the oppression of black people, what he's doing is talking about giving pardons and commutations, but he's not talking about criminal justice reform. Okay, so he's shifting the conversation. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, and see, and what he's doing is he's overshadowing the whole episode that took place in 1865 with what they call the Black Code.
Yes.
And when black folk came out of slavery, they still needed black folk labor in the South. And what they said about these black codes to find any justification for re-enslaving and enslaving black folk in America.
Right.
They took the little parenthetical clause of in the 13th Amendment. It said slavery was illegal and unconstitutional, except the word except when they've been duly judged criminal. criminal in a legal proceeding. That's basically what it's saying.
Yeah.
And they use any minor in that slave code. The black code says find any justifiable reason for enslaving blacks. That became a new way of getting black labor in the country. That's why the prisoners are running over with blacks for minor, minutia, unreported, irrelevant, and criminality. And they use two systems. They try to put blacks in what they call criminal court. They go to criminal court, and whites go to civil court. Whites go there because white collar crimes are committed by whites. They go to civil court, but there's no record. You don't have to necessarily commute them. They make sure they steal enough money to make sure they can have lawyers and accountants that postpone going to jail for centuries. But on the other hand, these blacks will go to jail for minor things by having some marijuana on their pocket or breaking into and stealing a damn bottle of beer out of 7-Eleven.
Right.
They go to criminal courts and they're in there for 20, 40, 50 years for nothing. So I'm trying to tell black folks in all of my books, stay away from that. They want to go to the black labor, white wealth. Black labor, white wealth. Yeah, how they criminalize like the whole section on it. And so for him to come along, well, I'm going to come do one. Who gives a damn?
And look, brother, we're coming up on a break. So when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to talk about the difference between a pardon and a commutation, because Alice Marie Johnson got a commutation, not a pardon, number one. Number two, we're going to get into the topic of immigration and Black Americans. Okay, people, be sure to visit powernomics.com, order Dr. Claud Anderson's books. Stand by, Doc. We'll be back in a few minutes. You listen to the African History Network show, 9:10 a.m., the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, stand by, guys. We'll be back in 2 minutes. 2-minute break. Stand by. Those on YouTube, stand by. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay. We're broadcasting on YouTube and on Facebook. How's everybody doing? On YouTube, hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, and writer. All right, how's everybody doing? Hey, I want to let you know that we have a new bundle pack available right now at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We're going to post a link. We have a 48-hour sale going on, okay? And this helps support the African History Network, helps support what we're doing, helps us stay on the air. The Black Panther 6 DVD bundle pack, the Black Panther 6 DVD bundle pack. You get 3 of my presentations, 3 of my lectures dealing with the film Black Panther. You also get 3 other presentations. It's on sale now, $45, regularly $75, okay? That's available at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We're going to post a link here on the thread of the broadcast on Facebook and on YouTube as well, okay? So we have this sale going on right now. Let me see. Well, let me do this right here. Okay, those watching on Facebook and YouTube, share this broadcast on your social media pages. Invite your friends to tune in also. Can you all hear me okay on YouTube? All right. All right, guys, we have Malik X, Anonymous, I Am, Net Surfer, Dave Williams, Dave Wilkins on YouTube, okay? Okay, we're coming back in about 30 seconds. Oh, coming back in what, 20 seconds?
Yep, 10 seconds.
Okay. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, and writer. We have a 48-hour sale going on right now at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have a brand new bundle pack, the Black Panther 6 DVD bundle pack. You get 6 of my DVD lectures, 3 of them dealing with the film Black Panther. I have one where I do a presentation for children dealing with the film Black Panther. And then also you get 3 of my other presentations. It's on sale right now, $45, regularly $75, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We just posted the link here on the thread of the broadcast on Facebook and on YouTube also. So that's going on till Tuesday, 11:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be sure and place your orders now, all right? And I will be in Atlanta coming up Friday, June 15th through Sunday, June 17th at Morris Brown College for the huge Juneteenth celebration that they do in Atlanta. Okay. And I'll be speaking on that Saturday, June 16th. Don't know the time yet. I'll have a vendor table all 3 days. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com for more information. All right, so we're speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson, author of Black Label, White Wealth, Powernomics, Dirty Little Secrets About Black History, Volume 1 and Volume 2, and his latest book, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Let's bring him back on. All right, Dr. Claud Anderson. Okay, brother. So right before the break, we were talking about Trump and the smokescreen of pardons and commutations. And I don't think anybody is saying, hey, look, if he says he'll accept applications or he'll accept suggestions for pardons, I don't think anybody's saying don't submit an application for pardons or don't submit suggestions, but we're saying, wait a second, this is a smokescreen. He's not dealing with criminal justice reform. He's not dealing with something really substantive that's going to benefit a majority of Black people. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. You got it right, Michael. In other words, that's an old technique we used in magic years ago. It's called misdirection, which means if you don't want anybody to see your left hand, what you do, you wave your right hand to keep them focusing on the wrong thing or directing their attention to something irrelevant, unnecessary, while you take care of the real action in your left hand. So that's called misdirection, and that's what he's doing. He's trying to keep you. But one thing he's talking about with race at this point, I know most people think right now that Trump is a clown and a fool, but he's very, very, and tell him don't be misled. That's called misdirection. He's actually the president being a damn fool. He's doing some very vicious things.
Yes, he is.
It's going to screw Black folk up for another generation and make it very doubtful that Black folk will survive another 20 years, another generation. And at some point, you talk what he is doing. And I give you to break out some.
Break it down right now. Let's go. Break it down right now.
First thing he's doing, he's stacking the court.
Yes.
He's stacking the court with social conservative judges.
My man.
And he's stacking it and start with the Supreme Court, for example. He knows good well that only reason Black can have any crime is to go through the court system. He's stacking it up and down.
Right.
Putting more damn federal judges that in a 1 or 2 year time that Obama put in on in 8 years. But more importantly, they got it rigged so that what's called the Federal Society. The Federal Society, who works in hand with him, they keep a running list of the most ultra right-wing conservatives, about as close to being a Ku Klux Klan or a rider of the Night Hawk, the Black Hawk, or the White Comedian Brigade from slavery. They all have been sitting there waiting. They got their names already. You're going to stack those courts.
Yes.
You'll never be able to get anything through.
Yes.
When anybody's important to Black Michael, is that Black folks must come to understand all this laid out in all my books, especially like the Black History Readers, that the guardian of racism in America is the United States Supreme Court. That's why the first 57 people appointed to the United States Supreme Court were slave owners. And following that, the next 67 were white racists. That's why now out of 120-some damn people put on the United States Supreme Court, you have one black and one half of a black put on there. That's been over almost 500 years. They're stacking the deck on it. And Black folks must get serious and quit thinking that Donald Trump is a clown and a fool. Mm-hmm. He's misdirecting it. Second thing he's doing, he's got this guy like Pruitt on there now. They're trying to strip out every damn regulation they
right.
put their hands on.
So Scott Pruitt, Secretary of the Environmental Protection Agency. Go ahead.
Yes, and they strip it. They're gonna try to reconstruct all the damn regulations in the country to give utmost and maximum freedom to corporations and to their constituency base, their core base. Their core base is three things. One is the United States military complex that they're gonna get most of the money. That's why he's gonna double and triple the budget to make sure they got more than the money they can ever use. Mm-hmm. While he cut out other social programs. Yes. That's the second thing he's gonna do. He do what the Democrats will never do. He takes care of his constituents. The second base of constituents, or core constituents, are religious groups. That's everything from the fanatics, again, to the televangelists. They're gonna make sure they got all the rights and privileges they can get the money. And the fourth thing they're gonna do is go after these groups that are big corporations, because what they're trying to do under groups like the Council 300 or the Beckerberg Group, they want major corporations to dominate and control the world. They're trying to shift as much wealth to the major corporations, to white folks, that they can ever get. And I'm going on.
Okay.
That's the issue. I don't want to, but let me give you those three. Let's stop there.
Okay, so very important. You're absolutely correct dealing with the federal courts, and a lot of people are not paying attention to this. And when you look at Neil Gorsuch, Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch, who's now on the Supreme Court, right? That he was on a list presented to Trump from the Federalist Society. Okay, that's where that name came from. And so you got the Supreme Court, but then with the federal courts, as you stated, Trump is nominating very young, conservative, ultra conservative white males to the federal court. And that is a lifetime position. Okay, this is what a lot of people don't understand. That's a lifetime position. More cases go before the federal court than go before the U.S. Supreme Court. And he's changing the landscape of the federal court. And what Republicans led by Mitch McConnell in the U.S. Senate, what they did the last term of President Obama, the last year of President Obama, they blocked a lot of President Obama's nominations to the federal court to leave those nominations open, hoping that the next president will be a Republican, and now Trump is filling those. Go ahead.
Okay, so that's right. And see, and you got to go back. You got to go back and again. I'm gonna keep telling them again. I keep telling black folks. I went out of my way after 50 or 60 years in national and international politics with presidents and governors. They're trying to write up and analyze these conditions of black folks and put them in those books. And some blacks read them and some don't. Mm-hmm. You got to go back to the beginning. First of all, the United States Supreme Court does not have the legitimate authorized authority to do what they're doing. That's the first thing. But they get away with it. They get away with it by what they did in 1803 called the Madison and Marlborough decision, mm-hmm. which means they co-opted and got power and got away with it in 1803. They didn't really have to get a chance to exercise it fully until 1857 with the Dred Scott decision, when they did not have the right to do what they're doing. And the Supreme Court is also getting involved in three things matters. One, in ambassadorial appointments. Two, in working with in lower level cases of judgeships. Judgeships in the federal court. Federal employees who fail to carry out those responsibilities. They do not have a right to override Congress. But what they did in the end of the Civil War, they jumped in and gutted. They gutted and corrupted, diluted, watered down, and misdirected. Same thing you do now. They misdirected the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, and 7 civil rights laws mm-hmm. to make sure that they knew so black folk would not be able to get out of the basket. They read them as being unconstitutional. They read everything that happened during Reconstruction from 1865 to 1875. The United States Supreme Court ruled it as unconstitutional. So the whites in the South, the white rednecks and conservatives can do anything they want to black folk anytime they want. And now they're doing the same thing again. They stack the courts, as I said, initially with white slave owners, and subsequent to that they put them on with conservative whites. All the way to the present time, if they could find a black who was willing to have meritorious manumission and act as a sample, they'll stick him on the Supreme Court.
Right. So what you're talking about, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were only for Black Americans, those formerly enslaved people. The 14th Amendment was not for LGBT. It wasn't for handicap. It wasn't for humpbacks or midgets or anything like this. The 14th Amendment was only for Black Americans. Okay, is that correct?
You're absolutely correct.
So when you say that the Supreme Court is doing things that they legally don't have the authority to do, explain that, because when you look at, and this is not an attack on anybody, but we have to understand law. When you look at gay marriage, right? And the ruling from the Supreme Court on gay marriage, the foundation of that was the 14th Amendment. But the 14th Amendment was only for Black people. It had nothing to do with sexual orientation. Go ahead, brother.
That's right. And that's why immediately after the Civil War ended in 1865, the first thing that the radical Republicans said at that time were a few liberal white congressmen who were married to either to Black women or who had Black children, offspring. That's why they created Howard University for Black offspring of Black congressmen who had Black babies.
Right.
But when the first thing they want to do is say that we got to go back and correct the Dred Scott decision. Mm-hmm. The Dred Scott decision said very specifically, Michael, that no black man has any rights, privileges that any white person is bound to respect. And Dred Scott decision, it did not say women, gays, midgets, humpbacks, people didn't grow on toenails, and with hemorrhoids. It says black have a right.
Right.
So what they said after the Civil War, that we got to go back now and be able to correct what the Dred Scott decision said, because because up to that point in time, black folk were not citizens of the United States. They were not included in the first Constitution. So what they had to do was write a second Constitution. You got two constitutions in the country.
Right.
I got all these damn black with college degrees and law degrees that don't understand that. There's two constitutions. The first Constitution was from the First to the 10th Amendment.
Yes.
And I mean, first to the 12th Amendment.
Okay.
That was a constitution for whites. It was the first affirmative action plan in the entire United States. I wrote the second affirmative action plan in the United States in 1970. I wrote it for the state of Florida. It went all over the country. I wrote it for black folks. That was the second constitution. But the first constitution was written strictly for whites. That's from the First Amendment through the 12th Amendment. But the correct and they wrote it because in the first in those amendments it says black folk are property. They're not human beings. They're not citizens. They have no rights. You cannot give rights to property. And so after the Civil War, they said we got to write a second constitution, which would be the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment.
Right.
And what they said in there is this: is that to be very specific, it says that the 13th Amendment says that basically that black people, the descendants of slaves, must be treated in all manners similar to way whites are treated. Now, if it had been written for whites, they wouldn't have written it like that and said, because the whites already had it. They were not treated like whites. It's written strictly. Then the 14th Amendment came in and said, now, every level of government is mandated to use and exercise all necessary means and manners to lift the burdens and legacies of slavery off the shoulders of black folk. This says anything about lifting off of gays and women and midgets and humpbacks. It says off of black folk.
Right.
And that was backed up again with the slaughterhouse case in 1873. When a few whites tried to use the 14th Amendment, some white meat workers for a union down in New Orleans trying to come up and use the 14th Amendment. And even the Supreme Court was faced a rule against them and said, no, you cannot use the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is strictly for black folk. But later on, what to keep blacks in the ditch, the Supreme Court then by 1875 said, okay, we're going to rule all civil rights laws as unconstitutional, because the whites then cut an agreement. The whites in the North and the whites in the South says we can't get free labor, slave labor, we need cheap labor. And that's why they went into Jim Crow segregation. We got to keep these blacks down here. And the North said, keep them. We don't need them. We don't want to come north. You can use the 13th Amendment, and we'll let you get those civil rights laws. You keep those blacks enslaved for another 100 years. They call it Jim Crow segregation.
Exactly. So when we look at this, and when you talked about the first through 12 amendments to the Constitution, so we know the Constitution was signed September 17, 1787. It passes 1788. The first 10 amendments, known as the Bill of Rights, that doesn't come along to 1791. Then you have the 11th and 12th Amendment. Okay, when you deal with the 14th Amendment of 1868, it's important for people to understand, because of what's known as legal fiction and corporate personhood, there's a clause in the 14th Amendment that makes a corporation a person based upon the legal definition of a person. The legal definition of a person is a human being, a business, or a corporation. So it gave the 14th Amendment, because of legal fiction and corporate personhood, actually gave corporations all the rights of a quote unquote person based upon the legal definition. All right. So this is allowing corporations to use the 14th Amendment for their benefit, but it was not designed for corporations. It was only designed for Black Americans. Is that correct?
Yes, you're absolutely. Go back and pinpoint a second. When the Supreme Court said that the 14th, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments was for black folks, and the court then you knew that, and they ruled against whites using. But later on, in about 1780, you had a guy named Roscoe, I think the Roscoe Company, who had been associated with the Congress, He was now working for the Ohio Railroad, and he wanted to figure out. He says, well, if anybody can try to use that 14th Amendment, why don't I go ahead and make it for corporations? And so if you're gonna let that black folk no longer be property and get special things, let's make it a corporation too. And so he started slipping his whole business about corporations being like a person would live in perpetuity. And that's how the corporations came in. So that was in the 1880s. So by 2000, out of 2,000 cases tried by the Supreme Court, out of 220 cases tried by the Supreme Court on using the 14th Amendment, all but about 4 were for corporations. Black folk were shut out of using the 14th Amendment.
Right.
And now they've been doing the same thing by neutralizing the 14th Amendment and bringing in everybody. Because what that does, it maintains the status quo, and the Supreme Court is gonna go along with that, because black folk now must be kept in a ditch. The primary responsibility of the United States Supreme Court and the court system in general is to maintain the status quo on race in America. That's why black folk got to understand and get out of the bag, quit trying to waste their time going through the court system, and start politicizing it and hit the streets, because it's a political issue. It's not a legal issue. That's why right now all these reparation lawsuits gonna be coming up. The only hope black folk got now is reparations, because you don't own and control the damn thing. And the whole point of the United States Constitution, being interpreted by the Supreme Court, is to make sure that black folk never get anything. And lastly,
yes,
in 1990, you got all these immigrants coming into the country. Immigrants coming into the country, all classified as white. The first act of the United States Congress in 1790 was passed the first nationalization and immigration law, which says everybody coming to this country can have access to this country's resources, rights, privileges, businesses, opportunities for everything except black folks. And they call that the American dream. Come to America. They send out letters all over the world attracting people to come to America as immigrants, and say black folk will be the only non-immigrants. But any immigrant coming here, they're entitled to the American dream. They can get free unearned benefits. They can get free Indian land and free black labor. That's why all these immigrants coming to the country now under the DACA Act. They're coming here looking for unearned benefits that black folk would never been able to get and would never be allowed to get unless black folk wake up and smell the damn coffee.
Right. Now let me we're gonna go to immigration here in just a second, then we're gonna come back to reparations, because on page 52 of your book, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask, which is available right now at powernomics.com. Okay. Question number 16 is, how are demographics changing in majority black urban cities? We'll come to that in just a minute, but just to help you out, 2 quick things. I know you already know this, but people are listening, and then people will say, oh, Dr. Claud Anderson said something that wasn't true. For DACA, you had to be here by June of 2007 to take advantage of DACA. I know you know that, but just for people listening, they'll say, oh, you can't take advantage of DACA if you weren't here by June of 2007, just so people understand that deferred action for childhood arrival, okay? On page 16, page 52 of your book, question number 16, you ask, how are demographics changing in majority black urban cities? In the 21st century, the majority white population is in the midst of recapturing urban cities through a combination of gentrification, privatization, and immigration initiatives used in urban cities to displace blacks, to push them out, and to push those who remain into minority status with no power. Push those who remain, like black people who are the 85% of the population in Detroit, who are being marginalized and subordinated, okay, by the man from Livonia, push them out, and to push those who remain into minority status with no power. Major political and economic efforts across the nation are systematically redeveloping those cities into comfortable havens for affluent whites and ethnic immigrants who are taking over the assets of urban cities. So, Doc, what's going on, and how can we fight this?
Well, you're right. They use about 4 or 5 schemes And I told Detroit that back in about 2002 and 2003. And what the dilemma that Detroit is in, they asked for it, they begged for it, they wanted the conditions. Damn it, nobody told me that's stupid. They sat there, and I tried to build a black business district in the city.
Right.
And in collaboration on the other side of the city with Joanne Watson, she wanted to build an African town. Councilwoman Joanne Watson. And then so Joanne Watson, Kwame Kenyatta, Rose, get the Rose the last name. But there were about 4 or 5 on the city council. Dr. Evans come in here and write a plan for us. I wrote a 119-page plan to show them how to build a black business district in that city, with the support of those black city council people. And I had already recruited something like about 9 or 10 major factories that were coming in.
Sure.
To Detroit. I had over 1,000 people come into Detroit from around the country who was willing to relocate their businesses into that area. I had contracted to get with 40 acres of land off of Livernois and Grand River in that area to build a black business district. I had a whole bunch of other businesses ready to go in there. I had tire companies coming in. I had clothing companies. Dr. Redditt from California. I had the pork dealers from black pork dealers from St. Louis. I had chicken poultry people from Texas. I had a plastic company out of Ohio. All of them coming to build factories to create jobs for black folks. But you had a city council that was pretty well embedded with a bunch of black Sambos there who felt that it would be, and they went out and solicited opinions and write-ins from the white suburbs.
Right.
And they said, Dr. Anderson, what you said is racist. They said, yeah, we admit in this city it's a 92% black city. And 92% of the businesses are owned by Arabs. The grocery stores, food stores, party stores, liquor stores, discount stores. Out of 146 gas stations, Arabs own 144. And we got an Arab town, Asian town, hockey town, cork town, pork town, and Chinatown, and a Greek town. But if you do stuff for black folks, that's racist. And your leadership in Detroit, Michigan, and your black ministers and all the rest of them went along with that. And you had a group called the Gang of Nine. The whites that own, that manipulated most of those suburban areas, control them, and they control also from everything from the newspapers to the television station, Channel 4, everything was owned by whites. They wanted to take over that city. So what they said, they crafted at that time 5 different ways of taking Detroit over and rebirthing those black folk all the way back to where they were in 1902. And one of them is called gentrification.
Right.
We would go into that city, and we're gonna take over all the land. You had people like Dennis Archer and people like that had people driving whites around in buses to pick out what land they want. So they would drive and pick up the land. They also set up land banks for whites coming back to the city. And out of that, they use a concept. One is called gentrification.
Yes.
The 2 is called privatization. The 3rd one is called metropolitan forms of government. Next is called regional form of government. Others called cool cities. Now, under the privatization at that time, Michael, I told them 25 things in Detroit, Michigan, that whites going to come in and gentrify that city and privatize. They're going to turn over all the resources, the public resources, public assets are going to white hands. That's what the gentrification is only half of it. Privatization is the second half. After here, what they're going to take from it, they're going to take over Joe Louis Arena. They're going to privatize Joe Louis Arena, Cobo Hall, the Art Institute, the Detroit Museum. They're going to take over all the land on the waterfront, that's from Cobo Hall all the way down to Fort. I can't think of the fort down there. The military fort on the river.
Okay.
They're going to take over the airport, city airport, and privatize that into white hands. They're going to take over the golf course. They're going to take over your water system and privatize that. They're going to take over your sewage system and privatize that. They're going to privatize the tunnel to Canada. They're going to privatize the bridge to Canada. The bridge, they're going to privatize everything in the white hands. You blacks will be in servitude again. And so, but they didn't listen to me. So, Dr. Anderson is racist because all we want to do is get along and be a guest and whatever they own. We don't care who owns it.
Right.
We want it. And so now I don't have that much appreciation for most of the blacks in Detroit anymore. Anybody that can't think past their rear end, I don't have that much appreciation for it anymore.
All right. So we're coming up on a break. When we come back from the break, we're going to deal with how Black Americans can fight against this, because we're being gentrified all across the country. And I relate gentrification to colonization as well. Okay, I say gentrification is 21st century colonization. All right, visit his website, powernomics.com. Powernomics, Nomics, powernomics.com. You can order his latest book, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask, from Dr. Claud Anderson. Do you have a bundle pack going on, or any promotions you want to talk about for a minute, quickly?
Yeah, we got it right now. We have all 5 of those books to be picked up on the powernomics.com. As Black Labor White Wealth, it lays out exactly how every technique, strategy, concept, law was used to maldistribute 100% of all this nation's wealth, power, resource, privileges, businesses, income, and controls of all levels of government into the hands of the dominant white society. And Black people haven't got a snowball chance of surviving if they don't get back and learn how to redistribute some of that wealth and power back into their hands. That's the first book. That was followed by Powernomics. It shows you now, here's how you play the game and win.
Yes.
Then 2 little secrets book that says you're very special people. Don't let anybody call you a minority, a poor folk, or a people of color, multicultural diversity. You are special. There's nobody in this country like Native Blacks. And that last book is called The Black History Reader. It's written in a question and answer format, so that it makes it humanly impossible for a Black person to read that book and not understand racism and the nature of it and what to do to be able to survive in this country. You can get that on Pop by going to the powernomics.com and order it, and presently get all 5 of those books plus a DVD on how to educate Black kids. You can get all that for $99.
Oh.
Or you can, okay?
Yeah, wow, that's a good deal. $99, powernomics.com. Go ahead.
Or they can call the corporation office, Powernomics Corporation office, and we prefer you to go to the website, but if you can call that on 301 564 6075 and order those materials immediately and start reading it. We're in deep, deep trouble. And the last point we make about, you talked about privatization. I got to throw this point in
Go ahead.
my mind.
Go ahead.
Washington, D.C. right now is being privatized.
Yes.
When I first came to Washington, D.C. back in 1970, I came up here and Jimmy Carter, it was Jimmy Carter's administration. I had run his campaign in the South of Florida. And he appointed me to be Black Assistant Secretary of Commerce. And also I was appointed to be a chairman for economic development for governors, East and Southern governors and stuff. But at that time, Washington, D.C. was a 78% Black city. It was known as Chocolate City.
Right.
It's now to less than 40%. And the wealth in this country is being stripped away from Black folk. Where the typical white coming and gentrifying in Washington, D.C. now, when you see Chocolate City, they got a typical wealth of something like $235,000 in personal wealth, not income.
Right.
Well, on the other hand, the typical Black in this city that is now reduced down to about less than 40%, they got less than $4,000 per income. Same thing over in PT County. PT County has the largest concentration of educated, wealth, income coming Black in the entire United States. I go over to PT County, which is just right across the line from Washington, D.C. It's a majority Black county. Guess what? All the businesses over there are pretty much being dominated and run and owned by immigrants and whites. Blacks are nothing but the customers in a city or a county that is 97, almost 100% damn Black.
Right. So, when I talked to you before, when I interviewed you February 19th, 2018 on President's Day, and we talked about DACA, we talked about immigration. You're not, as you said then, I want to clarify, I want people to understand what you're saying. You're not against immigrants coming to this country. What you're saying, however, is that we need to analyze the impact negatively, possibly, that it has when you have influxes of immigrants coming to this country and their needs are being put ahead of Black people who've been here for hundreds of years. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely right. I'm not against immigrants. I'm against this nation's immigration policy. And they've been doing it now for all these centuries. Immigrants could come to this country, Michael. Immigrants come to this country and invite anybody who was not Black was invited to this country. That's how you got the maldistribution of the wealth.
Right.
When the immigrants could come here, and every immigrant who touched foot in this country could immediately pick up 650 acres of free land. And for every slave they acquire, once they got here, they get another 150 acres of land for every slave they own. And that's why, and that's why George Washington said the wealth of this nation would be invested in the land. He said, so therefore I want 100,000 acres of free land. Thomas Jefferson said, well, give me 100,000 acres of free land. Patrick Henry, who said, "Give me liberty, give me death." In your history book, he says, "Give me the 65,000 acres of free land." And so consequently, and the railroads then picked up 24 million acres of free land. They got 6 miles of free land on each side of the railroad. And what does that mean for black folk? Black folk could not get 1 acre of free land. And so consequently, the laws, the immigration laws, gave immigrants over 1 billion with a B acres of free land. And in that land, there was all that's where the wealth was. In the timber, the land itself, the timber, the gold, the chrome, the bauxite, the magnesium, the water, the oil, the gas, and that has multiplied and doubled and tripled in value every 20 years since 1890, 1790.
Right.
It's been passed on from one white generation to the next. That's why this country right now, black folk only control 1/2 of 1% of the wealth of this nation. They haven't got a snowball's chance of being a competitive group with 1/2 of 1% of the wealth. The wealth is all in the white society and the immigrants coming into the country.
Okay, we're coming up on a break, brother. When we come back, we're gonna wrap up and we're gonna get into reparations, and then I want to talk about question number 5 in your book. Did Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s colorblind dream take the focus off black rights? Okay, people visit census.gov. Census.gov. That's the official website of the Census Bureau. Search for Overview of Race and Hispanic Origin 2010. Overview of Race and Hispanic Origin 2010. It's a 24-page document. Look at page 3. That breaks down the racial categories, and it tells you definition of race categories used in 2010 census. White refers to a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East. So Arabs, there's no Arab classification on the census form. Arabs are classified as white, according to the U.S. government. And also those immigrating from North Africa, whether they're Nubian, whether they're Arab, they're classified as white by the U.S. government. Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. It includes people who indicated their race as white or reported entries such as Irish, German, Italian, Lebanese, Arab, Moroccan, or Caucasian. This is straight coming from the U.S. government. So this is what Dr. Claud Anderson was talking about. All right, 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio, the African History Network show. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by. Stand by. Okay, guys, we'll be back in 4 minutes. Listen to the African History Network show, 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. Hey, do me a favor, check with Dr. Anderson, see how much time, see how much time he has left. How much more time he has. Let him know we can go up to like 10:20. Okay. So those on Facebook and those on YouTube, I posted the link there for you for census.gov. Okay. I posted that link for you. That takes you to the page 2010 census form. Okay. Page 3 breaks down the racial classifications. What do you say?
10 minutes.
Oh, Tim, you got 10 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we let him go at 10:10 then. Okay. Because we don't come back to 10 o'clock. Okay. All right, how's everybody doing? All right, if you like this type of information, one, you can register for the online courses. You can register for the online courses that I teach. Register for the online courses that I teach. We have a bundle pack. You get 10 of them in the bundle pack for $60, regularly $130. We're coming back in 2 minutes from the break. All right, we're speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson, author of A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. I have the book right here. Here's my copy of it. Okay, so we're posting a link here. This 10 online course bundle pack. All the courses are on demand. You can watch, you can go at your own pace. It includes Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. That is a 14-hour, 7-session online course. It's all on demand. And you get African-American resistance in the era of Donald Trump, voter suppression, reparations, and how elections have consequences. Great African Women in History, the Mothers of Civilization. You get the online class I did March 31st, dealing with the film Black Panther, and a lot more. Okay. So that's a bundle pack. It's on sale $60, regularly $130. If you like this type of information, I get deep into it in that online course. Okay. So register for that. You can start watching as soon as you register on your smartphone, tablet, or computer. All right, we're coming back in 30 seconds. Stand by. Listen to the African History Network show right here, 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. And then also you can donate to the African History Network if you like this type of information, paypal.me/the AHN show. Paypal.me/the AHN show. All right, let's go. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. Be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. If you like this type of information, you can register for the online courses I teach there. We have a bundle pack. You get 10 in a bundle pack all on demand. It includes Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. You can also donate to the African History Network at our website. Click on the yellow donate button, or go to paypal.me/the AHN show. All right, we're speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson, author of Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics, and also a Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. This is his latest book. We have him for a few more minutes here. Okay, so all right, so Doc, right before the break, I said we wanted to delve into this conversation. Question number 5 in your book on page 15 is, did Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s colorblind dream take the focus off Black rights? Talk about that and tie that into the debate between desegregation and integration, because we know that the Supreme Court case Brown versus Board of Education, which was decided May 17th, 1954, it did not give Black Americans what they were really fighting for. Go ahead, brother.
Back in 1940, the real battle started at that point in time in McClinton, South Carolina, which was I was born and raised in South Carolina at that time, and the issue at that time was based on resources, because in McClinton, South Carolina, they filed a lawsuit back in 1948, and it bounced around for quite a few years before it wound up in the Supreme Court about 1954. But what the Black folk were fighting for in the South, they weren't fighting for social integration.
Right.
They were fighting for desegregation and a reintegration of the money, the resources,
right,
in South Carolina. Because what was happening down there at that time is that the white kids were riding school buses every day to school, and Black kids, we walked in mud, snow up to our knees and ankles every day with muddy shoes, trying to get to school, walking for miles in mud and rain while they rode on the bus. And that's one thing. And secondly, that they were getting all the best equipment, the best supplies, and we weren't getting them, because the average Black kid at that time had to spend the first week of school in September with big gummy racers cleaning up books and materials.
right,
Because every fall, the white school would ship all their old books, old textbooks, old material, broken machinery. They would ship it over to the Black schools so the white kids could get new equipment and new schools and new textbooks. And so we spent a whole week cleaning up, using Scotch tape and taping up the old pages in their books. And lastly, as an example, that for every dollar they put into a white school, and they put about $11 or $12 for a white child to go to school, and about $1.50 for a Black one to go to school. We won't pay at the white schools that had swimming pools, and what we had to do was go down to the creek, Michael.
yes,
Stand up the creek and swim in the creek water down there, because we didn't have swimming pools. So what Black folk were demanding said, we're not opposed, just like I told them, I'm not opposed to immigrants, I'm opposed to the policies of
right,
the nation,
right,
the immigration policy. So what those Blacks are saying is we're not opposed to segregation. That doesn't give a damn about that. What we're opposed to is that you won't give us the resources that we need so desperately in our community. Because what we got, we've done a magnificent job at that time. We got our own bus lines in Winston-Salem, as an example. We had our own cab companies, bus companies, and hotels, movie theaters. We just needed more money to be equipped to be a competitive group. And so that went up to the Supreme Court. At that point in time, the NAACP jumped in on it and said, well, what we need to do is let's just get rid of all vestiges of Blackness. And that way, we can make all because a black child can never be educated unless he's sitting beside a white child. I felt that was educationally ignorant. I thought it was offensive to black folks that a black child could not learn unless he was sitting beside a white child. And so I was opposed to it. And but anyway, they did it anyway. And consequently, and they put me over education for the state of Florida. I was over education for the state of Florida from 1970 all the way up to 1976 before I ran Jimmy Carter's campaign. I was in opposition to it. And so I asked the Department of Education, and I said, what do you all want to do? So I talked about social integration. They said, God, that's what we're going to do. We're going to close down all the black schools. We're going to fire all the black teachers, fire all the black counselors, fire all the black nurses. We're going to take it, bus 75% of the black kids into the white schools and put the other 25% in the special education classes. And I said, that's BS. I'm not going for that. And I fought it. And I went we got a program through the governor's office called statewide equalization. That's the only state in the United States that had it. I demanded that all the money be redistributed in the United States, in Florida, into the black neighborhoods, just to put them into the white neighborhoods. That's why in North Florida, the schools were run down in North Florida where blacks were, and it was extremely luxurious down in the Glades County and down in South Florida, we had all the white kids. The same thing was true. And so when Martin Luther King group came in on board, and what they should have focused on, but I guess at that time they did the best they could, and I understand that.
Right.
They did the best they could. And but it would have been better if they looked further down the road and say what we should be focusing on is not social integration, because white folks said, "Good, we let you come in our school and make you a guest in our schools." And instead of social integration allow blacks to be guests in white schools, the white neighborhoods, the white restaurants, the white hotels, they should have said our primary responsibility is leave our communities intact and redistribute the resources back in those communities so we can be a competitive group. That's what we need. And you do that by focusing strictly on what was the purpose of slavery. Never in the history of nature has our black overclass, the black leadership ever said, we don't want to get in all this misdirection stuff.
Right.
Just go back and redistribute the resources on an equitable basis so it make up for the deficit you put on black folks in human terms and in poverty terms, in wealth and employment terms, and in access to resources for wealth. Give us the money that's the same amount of money to bring us up, not only to a par to whites, but we should be open for most of these immigrants are living off of unearned income. The average white child in America, everything in this country is stored in the white society. 99% was put in there. 87% Michael is frozen. The average white child, and the immigrants come, they can get 87% of what they want at birth. That's why, and the white child born, he gets everything he wants because it's in his neighborhood, in his community, in his school, in his family, in his culture, in his university. Black child gets nothing at birth in the same hospital because he can't inherit any wealth. There is no wealth in the black community unless it's more than 1/2 of 1%. And these immigrants, in conclusion of my long dissertation to you right now, and the reason these immigrants do so well against black folks, they make sure, now you underscore this, you preach this for me on your show every night. And I want you to promise to it. The reason immigrants go past black folk at 200 miles an hour, and that's why I wrote the affirmative action plan in 1971 for black folks. They go past black folk at 200 miles an hour because they get benefits that blacks don't get. The first thing is that if an immigrant comes to this country, he gets a benefit by being classified as an immigrant. That's why all these white folks about this is an immigrant nation. They know that black people are the only non-immigrants. And since black folk are the only non-immigrants, any immigrant comes in, he gets 1 point advantage over black folks. Second thing, the immigrants come in here, they're classified as white. Hispanics are nothing but white speaking Spanish. Arabs are white practicing Islam. And Asians are on probation have been white. They went on the Yoke and Wick decisions in 1928 and 1880 to be white. That's why they don't get involved in issues. All these groups come here, they get an immigrant point over black folks. They also get a language point over black folks. They get a culture point over black folks. So they can go down to a radio station and demand radio license because they speak Spanish. But black folks can't get anything. They also get a cultural advantage over black folks. That's why they put a restaurant, Asian restaurants, Chinese restaurants, everything. They use their culture. They can't, but black folks have been blacklisted for being from Africa. They can't use their culture. And they've been stripped of their culture. And the culture we did have, like the music was our culture. Dance is our culture. Slang is our culture. Dress is our culture. And that's all been hijacked away from us. Just like they hijacked the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the Civil Rights Law, they also hijacked Black culture, their history, and everything. They hijacked. That's why Blacks stay penniless, poor, disorganized, and powerless in this society.
Now, how do we tie this into the fight for reparations and also the Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866? Because I know people are listening and they say, I didn't know this history, but how do we fight back? And also we understand as well, midterm elections are coming up. So you talked about reparations in the previous segment before we went to break. So how do we tie all this together and how do we fight back to get the resources that we need?
Right. Well, that's what one of my files when I was over education state of Florida. I found out in the history books that Black folk showed up in the history books in two paragraphs, small paragraphs. One was I talked about slavery. The second thing was about civil rights movement. And that was it. And the rest of the books, all the rest of the history books in the library and the university campus was all about white history through their eyes and what they accomplished and what they wanted, their goals and interests in their community. And so I got to change this. So I started out with talking about Blackness. And what most people know is that Black people are the oldest people in this country. And in Florida, for instance, an example, that people can tell you, but slavery could not have existed in this country, Michael, without the full support of so-called Indians in this country. When the first treaties that were enacted by colonists coming to America in 1516, called the New York Treaty, they stipulated that if Indians were to side with whites, then they would be rewarded and appreciated and compensated for siding to maintain slavery in the country. And so they got the Chickasaw, Cherokee, and Seminole Indians to sign those treaties.
And the Creek. And the Creek Indians.
And Creek Indians, yeah. And so if you sign these treaties, then what we'll do then is we'll call you all civilized.
Right.
And quit running through the woods and just get yourself some slaves. And we'll pay you to be slave owners or slave holders. We'll give you $25 to bring back every slave that runs away. And if you can't bring him back, if you catch him and cut his scalp off, bring his scalp back with the ears attached, we'll give you $20. And that's why that's what made it very difficult for Blacks to get away from slavery, because they ran off in the woods. The Indians knew about this policy, and they would catch a Black, and if they didn't kill him, they would torment him. They would torture him, and to bring him back with just his scalp. And Black folk had a greater fear of being caught by Indians in the woods and mistreated and slaughtered and captured and drugged back. And so they half of them were scared to leave the reservation. But Indians became slave chasers, slave owners, and slave traders. And then when the Civil War started, all the Indian tribes signed the agreements to fight with the Southern South to maintain slavery.
Now let me ask you a quick question, Dot, so we can make a clear distinction. So you have currently 566 federally recognized tribal nations, which are largely called Indians and Native Americans. Are you talking about all 566 tribal nations, or are you talking about the 5 civilized tribes of Native Americans, the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Cherokee, and Seminole Indians?
I'm talking about the 5 civilized tribes.
Okay.
All those other groups fell underneath that, and all those are splintered off because right now they've been looking to try to get benefits, and they come up with any kind of little groups, maybe looking for benefits, and but they got those benefits because all the tribes fought with the South, and that's why the last Indian chief to give up was called Stan Wake. He was an Indian, and because of that. As a matter of fact, when the Civil War ended 2 years later, the Choctaw and Chickasaw Indians were still holding 12,000 and 16,000 slaves and slaves. And so the federal government had to send troops into those various Indian territories to demand that they sign treaties and release all those Blacks. And all the Black Indians, Black freedmen, and free Blacks were entitled to be under these treaties, which went back to the 14th Amendment.
Right.
Tied into the 14th Amendment we talked about earlier. It was strictly for Black folks, Black Indians and Black freedmen. That treaty said that Black folks must be treated in all manners similar to the way Indians are treated. That's what it says. And it mandated that every level of government do everything to be able to make sure that Black freedmen, Black Indians, and free Blacks at that time get everything that so-called whites got or present-day Indians get. And now 92% of all the people call themselves Indians that you're talking about, these very tribes, those are not Indians. Those are whites that are passing as Indians.
A lot of them, yeah.
Go ahead. On the Dawes Road back in the 1890s, in the Dawes Road,
right.
They found out that the government had required that you list and record the name and give a number to all blacks who've been slaves or black Indians to put them on the dog roll. Those whites found out about it, they could get benefits. They went down to the dog commission and paid $5 to get their name put on the roll. That's why so many whites all over America talking about they got Indian blood. They don't have any Indian blood. What they did, they got a $5 incentive put there by their great grandparents to get special benefits. And now they all wear their hair long now and stick a feather in their head to get special benefits.
Right.
That's why the President Obama, every year that he was in office, he called them to the White House every December and gave them $3.5 billion a year.
Mm-hmm.
But he did not call one black Indian there and give them a damn thing. And so nobody's been honoring those treaties. Even though recent support, I've had lawsuits. We're in the federal court, the appeal court, Sixth Circuit Court, and going to the Supreme Court fighting. But as I told you before, the court is the worst thing we can get to go, but we're going to do it. We've been creeping forward. Every time I knock down one strong issue, they come up with another, but we've been moving forward very slowly. And that's been ever since way back in the early 200s.
Right.
25, 26. But we're moving forward. It's called the 1866 Indian Treaty. We're still in the appeals court and the small claims court here in Washington, D.C. We're going to win. But we got to, because what they can't get out of it. They owe black folks billions and billions of dollars. It's not really a legal issue, but they've been forcing me to go through the courts to try to get to win the battle when it really gets a political issue. And my white congressman tell me that Dr. Anderson, if you had the political support and your own people, you all would have had this money a long time ago. The problem is that half your people are asleep and the other half in elected offices won't do anything. Your civil rights officers won't do anything. And I got congressmen and 4 or 5 white congressmen right now say, Dr. Anderson, that's your problem. If you want to get the money, you got to make it a political issue and start demanding. You black folks got to quit begging and marching and start demanding. The Cubans told me the same thing. Tell your people to quit marching and begging and start demanding. And so that's why I got these Indian treaties. We're moving forward. And a little bit of money that blacks send to the Harvest Institute. They go to the harvestinstitute.org and make contributions and donations, and we write off their taxes exempt. And we're moving forward, and we got 2 or 3 major lawsuits still pending behind this. That's why we passed an ordinance in Chicago called the Slavery Acknowledgement Ordinance, which says that every white business coming in Chicago must now confess any connection they had with slavery and what wealth that they acquired off of slavery. They must report it before they can do business to get a license in Chicago. And I work with that with myself, Dorothy Tillman, City Councilwoman, and also Lerone Bennett. We got that passed, and 27 cities have adopted that now. It tells big businesses you cannot come to the city without confessing how you profiteered off of slavery, and you got to put some money on the table to get a license in these cities. And we should have had that in Detroit, Michigan, but again, Detroit has gotten so weak now with no leadership, and I just feel sorry for Detroit.
Absolutely, brother. So once again, people visit powernomics.com. Powernomics, Nomics, powernomics.com. You can order Dr. Claud Anderson's latest book, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. A lot of this information he's talking about is right here in this book. He has a bundle pack. You get all 5 of his books, including Black Labor, White Wealth, and Powernomics, and his latest book, and the DVD. You get all that for $99. So definitely support this brother. He also has information. I know he has a DVD presentation that breaks down the whole history of the 1866 Black Freedmen Indian Treaties. I know that because I ordered that DVD, and that's how I learned a lot about it and did some more research on it. And when you talk about the Dawes Allotment Act, that's from 1887, named after Senator Henry L. Dawes, which redistributed 138 million square miles of land, or it's like 138 million acres of land. Okay, that redistribute that, and it was supposed to go to Black Indians, Black Americans, and Native Americans, but 2/3 went to white people. Okay, so that's what you're talking about. That's another redistribution of the land also that took place as well. Okay, go ahead.
In the last big slave, land grant and the land rush, Michael, that occurred back in the late 1890s, that when the land was going, they wanted to get across the Mississippi River to the new territory, and Oklahoma territory with all the blacks out there. And what they did is that they lined all the whites up and gave them 24 hours to go across the river and in a rush. And they could own as much land as they could find, and they could see if they drove a stake in the ground and claimed it. And that's part of our treaty application here. And this is our point of the spear in our lawsuit. And what those whites did, that's why they got all those big major ranches out west and all those big agricultural farms out west. The whites boast about how much land they got. They did not pay for the land.
Exactly.
The whites did not, they got land free out west. They passed it on from one generation to the next. And in our lawsuit, one of our Lynch's Brown family out there, her daddy, we was one of those black Indians, and he had a large tract of land that was supposed to be protected. And he was only 13 years of age, and a white corporation, oil company, took it from him with oil on it. They took it from him, and he was a miner. And later on in 1938, they tried to take any other resource they could for blacks. And this is the conclusion when I got to get off today.
Yeah, no, I know you got to run.
Okay, but in 1938, these various Indian tribes that I'm not talking about small miniature ones. All of them I want to have a membership so they get some free benefits.
Right.
With the Indians not. But in 1938, they sent a letter to the Department of Interior saying, asking, how do we stop and prevent black folk from ever getting anything, irrespective of the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, the Civil Rights Law? How do we make sure they never get anything, particularly getting in the land and the land saying we keep what we got?
Right.
They sent it to the Department of Interior. It bounced around, Michael, from about 1938 until about 1940, 1941, and then the Department of Interior, it was the Federal Indian Bureau, sent a letter back told them, say, look, the way you shut black folk down is, again, it's misdirection. The same thing Donald Trump is doing today. Misdirection.
Right.
Have a major and a minor. Here's what you tell these black folk across this nation, and you can trick black folk anytime you want it. If it doesn't take with an IQ of 20 to mislead black folk, it's what you have to do is this.
And we got 30 seconds left, Doc. Go ahead.
Okay, so you tell them that they can't. The only way blacks can be eligible for reparations or for land under the land grants and the Indian lawsuits and the treaties. It's what they got to prove. They got 25% quarter Indian blood in them. That those laws never say anything about any Indian blood. It's called a blood quantum law.
Right.
That was passed by Indians to shut black folk down and mislead blacks, pretending somehow they got to have special blood to get the benefits they should have gotten in history.
Right, exactly. All right, powernomics.com, harvestinstitute.org. All right, Doc, I appreciate you coming on. We got to bring you back again. And then let me know when you're coming to Detroit to speak also, okay?
Well, I'm coming whenever you invite me there, Mike.
Okay, we'll make it happen. All right, take care, brother. Have a good night. Tell your wife I said hi as well. All right, 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio, the African History Network show. Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right. All right, stand by. Yeah, we ain't had time to take any calls, but they can call in now. I ain't had time to take any calls, man, because Doc tells a mile a minute. And I only had them for a limited amount of time. But we can take calls now. All right, the call-in number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Sorry, we didn't have time to take calls when we had Dr. Claud Anderson on. We had a limited amount of time with him. He has a lot of information. 914-338-1375 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment, okay? We'll be back from break in 2 minutes. Okay, so how's everybody doing? On Facebook, we've got Burren. We've got, let's see. Hold on, wrong thread. Let's see. How's everybody doing on Facebook? All right, those watching on Facebook, share this broadcast on your own Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in also.
30 seconds.
Okay. We got Walter, Jeffrey, Maxine. And then you all be sure, if you like this type of information, be sure to register for the online courses that I teach also.
Yeah.
We have a bundle pack. You get 10 in a bundle pack for $60. It includes,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
regularly $130. It includes Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit.
Okay, that's a 14-hour, 7-session online course, all on demand.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. We just finished speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson. Sorry, it was so fast paced during the conversation. We did not have a time to take calls, but you can give us a call, 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. I didn't have time to talk about it when we had Doc on, and I've talked to him about this before, but we also have to understand that this land, with African people have been in this land going back at least 51,700 years, the land we call the United States of America. We were here thousands of years before the people who we call Native Americans even came into existence. You've heard me talk about Dr. David Imhotep before, who wrote the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. And we've talked about the pyramid mounds that were here up and down the Mississippi River. We talked about the Khoisan, who have the oldest DNA on the planet, and some quote unquote Black Americans or African Americans, part of their ancestry goes back to people who were here even before Native Americans came into existence. And one of the things that took place is that when European settlers came here, the African people who were already here, a lot of them got reclassified as Native Americans or Indians. Okay, so read the First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence by Dr. David Imhotep. You can try to get that from Nandy's Knowledge Cafe, 71 Oakland Avenue in Highland Park, Michigan, or Amazon.com. Also, I just talked to Dr. David Imhotep a couple of days ago. He called me, and his new book is coming out in the next month or so. The First Americans Were Africans Revisited. It's going to have some updated information. It's expanded. So we're going to have him back on in the next few weeks as well. Okay. All right. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's see. Let's go to Bo, line 1. Hey, Bo, welcome to the African History Network show. Thanks for calling. Tell us where you're calling from.
Thanks for taking my call.
Go ahead.
I was enjoying the show listening to Brother Claud Anderson.
Yes.
I didn't get the number. I missed the number. I was interested in the
to order his books to his office. Yeah, the phone number is area code 301-564-6075. Area code 301-564-6075. Okay, that's the office to Powernomics.
Got it. Kind of like a comment.
Go ahead.
I had you kind of clarified something that I had a discussion with the guy that sits in for decades about a week or 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And Arab American Muslim American.
Do you know his name?
I forget his name.
Okay, it's all right.
He has I think he does work at Wayne.
Okay, is he a comedian also?
He's a comedian.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I forgot his name, but I know who you're talking about. Go ahead.
I had a discussion with this Arab guy, and the discussion was about the Palestinians and what they were going through, and
You say he was discussing what?
He was compassion the condition of the Palestinians.
Oh, okay.
Going on.
Okay.
I had compassion for that.
Mm-hmm.
He made a statement that Arab Americans are people of color. I asked him to explain that to me.
Right.
He kind of hobnob around the answer, and he gets speak in terms of white people classifying them as colored people, but he never could really give me a definitive answer.
Right.
He ended up hanging up on me, but Dr. Claud Anderson kind of clarified that in his discussion.
Right. And see, what we have to understand is the term Arab is a tricky term because Arab is not a race. Arab is a culture. You have black Arabs also. You have black Arabs as well, like in the Sudan. Okay, so the term Arab is a tricky term, but you have a lot of white Arabs, and this is not an attack on anybody. I'm just stating fact.
That's right. And I made that clear to him also. That's right. It was just fact that was being overlooked, and he actually claims to be a people of color, the Arab American people, and I'm saying it's not a bad thing, but you can't just claim color. You can't claim that, you know.
Right.
Get that in, man.
Right.
Put a number. I'm gonna call back to you.
Okay, Bo. Thanks for calling. All right, let's go to De Niro, line 3. Hey, De Niro, thanks for holding. Welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from.
I'm calling from San Marcos, California.
From California. Okay, go ahead, man. Thanks for holding.
Hey, man, well, I got a whole bunch of questions. But what do you know about, I guess first off, I won't do it to you, I promise. I listen to you too often.
It's all right.
What do you know about the legitimacy of all these people who are doing the Ancestry.com stuff? Because I'm hearing you should never give your DNA to anybody. And most of this stuff is just a kind of a racket. But you should not do you should do a gene search, not necessarily the stuff that they're doing as far as DNA. What do you know about that?
Well, I know about African Ancestry.com, which is owned by African Americans. It's Dr. Well, not Dr. but Tony Browder speaks very highly of them, and that one is designed specifically for Black Americans, for African Americans. They have a much larger database, and they can not only tell you the region that your ancestry comes from, but they can also tell you the tribal nation, the high culture that your ancestry comes from as well. Okay, so that's the only one that's the only one I would consider doing. I've heard some good things about them. That's African Ancestry.com, not Ancestry.com. You can do Ancestry if you want to. I'm not saying do that, but African Ancestry.com is different. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't because, like I said, a good friend of mine, only trying to deal with woke folks nowadays, said never give your DNA to anybody because you don't know where it's going. And it's crazy. Not the African one, but the actual Ancestry.com.
Yeah.
So I definitely will follow through that. Man, I have another question for you.
Go ahead.
Oh, God, I forgot. I got excited about that. That's definitely found Dr. Anderson.
We'll come back to you in just a minute. You could we'll put you on hold. You can write down your questions. We'll come back to you in just a minute. Okay, we're going to go to John on line 4, and then we'll give De Niro another bite at the apple. Hey, John, thanks for holding. Welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Detroit. Detroit.
Yeah, go ahead. What's up, John? Go ahead.
Okay. I want to know what is the circumstances of it? Well, I'm not can't call her name right off the bat, but you know that we're talking about the young lady that Kenneth Cadet had released with the president of the United States. So what is she doing now? She went to college and we went to school and behind prison. So
who are you talking about, John?
The young lady that was in prison for 21 years that Cadet had a problem.
Yeah, you talking about Alice Marie Johnson that he just did this past Wednesday?
That's right.
Okay, no.
She went to school and college behind prison, so I want to know if she said she gonna come out and educate the people the knowledge and just put out a lot of information to the
right. And I saw an interview that she did, and she said that she's not forgetting about the people who are still in prison. She's helping to she's trying to help them as well. Yeah. One of the things that President Obama did, first of all, under President Obama, contrary to popular belief, the prison population did not go up under President Obama. As of December 2015, you can actually read the Department of Justice report, because I actually read the reports from December 2016. The U.S. prison population dropped to its lowest point in 20 years under President Obama. It dropped from a peak of 2.3 million down to 1.53 million. Thanks, President Obama. Nobody wants to say thank you for that. Okay.
I hope people listen. I hope they did what you just said.
Well, we can do more than listen. I'm gonna give them documentation. The next thing, because see, proper documentation ends all conversation. I deal with facts and evidence. I don't deal with opinions and myths. Okay. Now, one of the things that President Obama did was he introduced a pilot program to allow people in prison to get college degrees also. FinancialJuneteenth.com had an article about that, because that was taken away in the crime bill that was signed into law September 13th, 1994 under Bill Clinton. And the crime bill is misunderstood also, because 87% of the people that went to prison during the 2 terms of Clinton went under state law, not federal law. The crime bill was federal law. Okay, states had already, see, the whole thing is misunderstood. States, I'm not saying the crime bill was good. I'm saying people misunderstand a lot of what happened. The states had already started passing longer, harsher sentences in the 1970s and the 1980s. It goes back to June 17th, 1971. When Richard Nixon declared his war on drugs, when he spoke before Congress, okay? And if you go back and you look at the U.S. prison population, you see it going up in the 1970s. Then in 1973, you have Governor Nelson D. Rockefeller of New York, who wanted to run for president. And in the early 1970s, you had a changing mood in this country dealing with the way drug addiction, drug users, and drug pushers were looked at. All right. So when Nixon ran for office in 1968, he ran on the platform of law and order. And law and order basically means protect white people and lock up black people. So with this changing mood in the nation, when Governor Nelson D. Rockefeller wanted to run for president, he was a person who had originally more compassion for drug addicts and things like this. He recommended treatment, etc. But when he wanted to run for president, he did a 180-degree flip, and he instituted mandatory minimums in the state of New York. Mandatory minimums did not start in 1994 with the crime bill. That goes back to Governor Nelson D. Rockefeller and the Rockefeller drug laws in the state of New York. So when you go back to the 1970s, you see this continue into the 80s. You see this continue in the 90s. That did not start in 1994. Go ahead and finish your thoughts, John. We're going to go back to we'll go back to De Niro. Go ahead.
I want to thank you 1,000% for educating and knowledge and putting up that. And I hope you blow it up all over social media and put it on your website. So
oh, it's all, we're already doing that. We're broadcasting on my YouTube channel. Okay. Yep. Thanks, John. Thanks for calling. Keep listening. We're broadcasting on my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP on YouTube. We're broadcasting on my Facebook fan page, The African History Network on Facebook. We're broadcasting on 910 AM, the Superstation as well. Newsweek.com, December 29th, 2016. I was listening to a radio show today. People saying, oh, prison population out of control, things like this. I'm not saying there's not room for improvement. But you had a drop of 800,000 in the prison population, and nobody talks about it. How is that? It's because it happened under black man. That's why nobody talks about it. Newsweek.com, the U.S. prison population exceeded 1.5 million in 2015, December 29, 2016. And it talks about how the U.S. prison population fell the most in almost 4 decades to 1.53 million inmates in 2015, resulting in the lowest rate of incarceration in a generation. This is coming from the Department of Justice. This is not Infowars.com. How is it nobody talks about this? This happened under President Obama. That's why nobody talks about it. Because people want to deal with perception, don't want to deal with facts and evidence. Proper documentation ends all conversation. I'm not saying everything is perfect. I'm saying, wait a second. You had significant gains taking place under President Obama when it dealt with criminal justice reform. And this is being reversed right now under Trump. This is being reversed right now under Trump. People don't understand. President Obama's policies were on the ballot in 2016, even though his name was not on the ballot in 2016. People did not understand this, and they fell for the Russian ads on Facebook. 3,000 to 3,500 Russian ads. Russians spent about $100,000 on Facebook ads that hit 124 million to 130 million people, and the majority of those ads were positive to Donald Trump based upon a bunch of lies and negative to Hillary Clinton. Okay, I'm not talking about personalities. I'm talking about understanding policies and how politics impacts every aspect of your life, from the water you drink to the air you breathe to the food you eat. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources. The legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. This came out in December 2016. Okay, a year and a half ago, and most of our people don't even know this. Let's go back to De Niro. Let's give him opportunity to get to his second question. Hopefully he wrote it down. De Niro, then we'll go to George. Welcome back, De Niro. Go ahead with your next question.
Next question is, I got a friend of mine, well, actually stated me this last question. I got a friend of mine who just took his citizenship and went back to his native ancestry. What do you know about the laws, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment that basically says as long as we have African American tied to our names, that a lot of things would not benefit us? Because what he was telling me is that once we take the African American off of our name, and we get international status, we follow some of the laws like Dr. Claud Anderson was just talking about how every other minority that comes to the country does better than us. What do you know about that?
I know a lot about it. Now show me where he actually did it and is working.
He just did it. He did it out here in LA, man.
I'm familiar with that. I'm familiar with the Moors. I'm familiar with the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1786. I'm familiar with the Black Freedmen Indian treaties of 1866. I'm familiar with the theories. I've been to the classes. Now show me where you actually doing it and it's actually working. Not for one person, but show me where you got a whole group of people. So if you're actually doing this, show me the land that you own in the city you live in. Show me the multi-story building. Show me the gas stations you own. Show me the radio stations you own. Show me the TV stations you own. Show me the physical manifestation of your pontification.
Right, no, like I said, he just done it, and obviously it just piqued my interest. His wife is, she's originally from Belize, so it was really easy for her to go back, because, you know, she actually lost her international status when she came to America, but she went back and claimed her Belizean status. So no, I was asking what you do about it.
I know a whole lot about it, man. I can't get into all of it here on the air. I know a whole lot about it. I've been to the classes. I know a whole lot about it.
Would you encourage them to do something like that, or is it not beneficial for us?
You can look into it. Now you got some that are cons. You can look into it. See, the question I asked them is, show me where this is working for you. Show me. See. Look, if you got all this, not saying you, but the people who have all this knowledge of law and treaties, okay, and I know some of them. Some of them are doing something with it, but you got a whole group of you. Show me what you own. Show me the gas stations you own in your city. Show me the land you own in your city. Show me the radio stations. Show me the TV stations. Show me the physical manifestation of your pontification.
Right.
Okay, brother, I gotta get these other calls, man. Okay, keep listening.
Thank you.
And visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can go to my DVD lectures there and sign up for the online courses I teach. They're all on demand. We got a bundle pack of 10 courses right on the homepage of our website. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com is on sale $60. Let's go to George. Hey, George, thanks for holding. Welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from, George.
I'm calling from Inlay City, but first of all, I'll make a comment and tell you that
Go ahead.
I can't believe how intelligent and smart you are. I've been listening to you. That's fantastic. You're a very knowledgeable person.
Oh, thanks.
And I just admire you for that.
Oh, thanks, George.
What I'm going to tell you is that I'm going to tell you something that you're going to find to be a monster. But myself, some other engineers and doctors did a study, and we found the cause of autism. But we can't talk to Debbie Stabenow or any of the politicians. They won't listen.
Sure.
But I want you to let your lady parent to take my name and number.
Okay.
Because I'm requesting that I come in with all the information.
Okay.
And show it to you.
Okay. So
this is something This is something for your audience to think about.
Okay, so we'll put you on hold and you can give her your information, George. And if you have a website or something, you could give her the website also. And then I'm only on once a week, okay, at night. So you may want to call into some of the daily shows that are on 5 days a week, because you may want to call into some of those shows and get on there as well. But she'll take your information. Okay, thanks for calling, George. Okay, let's go to Tony, line 1. Hey, Tony, thanks for holding. Welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Detroit. How are you, Michael?
Hey, Tony, how you? I'm all right. How's it going?
Good, good. I've had the most amazing weekend studying some YouTube videos with Professor Kaba, Hawaka Cabinet.
Yeah, that's my man. That's one of my teachers. Yes. Yes.
Oh, my goodness. They had an interview with Dr. Gabriel Oyibo.
Okay.
He came up with the God Almighty Unified Grand
Theory.
Field Theorem.
Yeah.
Which answers all the questions that Einstein and Stephen Hawking, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michio Kaku, he put it all together. And I had never heard of this man, except someone mentioned him on another show on Friday on
is that Reverend Al Sharpton show Friday?
Sharpton show,
yeah.
And I was like, I had to do research because I'm totally fascinated with this. And I was wondering that you heard of it.
I've heard of him. But well, not only that, when the guy called in the Reverend Al Sharpton show, he never gave the guy's name. Also, I heard it live. I'm like, God, man, come on, man, get the guy's name, man. Say his name again so people can research him.
Okay, yes, Gabriel, Gabriel Oyibo, Oyibo.
Yes.
I believe he's from Nigeria.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Yeah, okay, and I'll get into we'll have Professor Kaba back on the show. Also, if you have a question or comment, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a comment, listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. Hey, I'll be in Atlanta coming up. Let's see, I'll be in Atlanta this coming weekend, Friday, June 15th through Sunday, June 17th at Morris Brown College for the huge Juneteenth celebration that they have there. And Juneteenth commemorates June 19th, 1865. General Order Number 3 was delivered. General Gordon Granger delivered General Order Number 3, stating that the enslaved Africans in Galveston, Texas were free. This took place 2 weeks after the Civil War ended. Civil War ended officially June 2nd, 1865. And even though many people think the Emancipation Proclamation freed the enslaved Africans June 1st, 1863, it did not. Okay, it did not. And this is one of the things I'll talk about when I get down to Atlanta. But people across the country commemorate Juneteenth. Okay, visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have the information there. It's a free event. I'll be there all 3 days. I'll have a vendor table as well, so you can get my DVD lectures. And I'll be speaking also on Saturday, not sure what time yet, and I'll be doing presentation in the historian's tent also. Okay, so when I was talking to Dr. Claud Anderson, we talked about Alice Marie Johnson. So this past Wednesday, June 6th, Alice Marie Johnson had her prison sentence commuted. It was not a pardon, it was a commutation from Donald John Trump, right? The difference between a commutation and a pardon is a commutation wipes out the remainder of your sentence, okay, your prison sentence. You're released from prison, but you still have a criminal record. That those felony convictions are still on your record, all right? With a presidential pardon, If you're in prison, well, number one, a presidential pardon is an admission of guilt. Sheriff Joe Arpaio found that out when he was on MSNBC being interviewed by Ari Melber, who is an attorney, and Sheriff Joe Arpaio didn't know that a presidential pardon, number one, is an admission of guilt. But a presidential pardon wipes out the remainder of your sentence. It also removes it off your record, so you no longer have a criminal record. Okay, if you're in prison, it releases you from prison as well. Okay, so that's the difference between a presidential pardon and a commutation. She got a commutation, not a presidential pardon. Now we're glad she's, out of prison, but just so people understand the difference. All right. So I want to switch gears here, and visit my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, on YouTube. YouTube IMHOTEP. You can also go to AfricanHistoryNetwork.com and to connect you there as well, because I did a Facebook. I posted a video on YouTube today dealing with Trump saying he's thinking about giving a pardon to Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali does not need a pardon. Muhammad Ali's conviction from June 20th, 1967 was overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1971. Okay, June 28th, 1971, his conviction was overturned. Okay, so he does not need a presidential pardon. Trump is just grandstanding, trying to fool people. Okay, he's either stupid or he thinks we're stupid. All right, you can read the full transcript of the back and forth comments he made Friday morning, June 8th, about 8 a.m. in the morning, when he was getting ready to go to the G7 summit in Canada. And he was answering questions from the media. Go to whitehouse.gov, remarks by President Trump before Marine One departure. Whitehouse.gov, official website of the White House. You can get the transcripts of interviews, things like that there. They also have the video of the interviews also there. Remarks by President Trump before Marine One departure. That was a huge debacle. And then, so he not only that, he advocated. So what you're going to find out, right? I've been telling the people, I've been telling people about Trump and connections to Russia. Trump openly advocated for Russia to be brought back into the G8. Russia was kicked out of the G8 because under Vladimir Putin's orders, Russia invaded Crimea in 2014, annexed Crimea, took control of Crimea from the Ukraine. This violated international law, and they were kicked out of the G8, okay, because of this. Trump on Friday and Saturday openly advocated for Russia to be brought back into the G8, but he didn't say why they were kicked out in the first place. That is, it makes no sense. But if you understand what's going on, it makes perfect sense. Okay, this is what I've been telling people. And if you were shocked when Ali B. Foreman's behind, wait till you see Donald Trump resign. If you were shocked when Ali B. Foreman's behind, wait till you see Donald Trump resign. We know June 17th is the anniversary of Watergate. Okay, this is a good article. The Watergate break-in, June 17th, 1972. All right. And we have to understand it took 2 years for Nixon to resign from office. So the Watergate break-in was June 17th, 1971. History.com has a very good article about this. History.com is the official website of the History Channel. It's entitled Watergate Scandal. So June 17, 1972, the Watergate break-in took place. What forced Richard Nixon to resign from office wasn't the break-in, it was the cover-up. Richard Nixon tried to use the CIA to get the FBI to back off of investigating the Watergate break-in. And Richard Nixon was the first sitting U.S. president to resign from office August 9, 1974. So it took 2 years for that to happen. The investigation into Bill Clinton, led by Kenneth Starr, that took 4 years and 1 month. It led to Bill Clinton's impeachment December 19th, 1998. Now, he was acquitted in the U.S. Senate because the trial is held in the U.S. Senate. It's the U.S. House of Representatives that writes up articles of impeachment. Okay, but he was acquitted in the U.S. Senate. All right. So check this out, history.com, Watergate scandal. to get some background information. And if you understand history, you can predict what's happening because history is repeating itself. And I'm predicting Donald Trump is going to be forced to resign from office. This is why midterm elections are so important, because the House of Representatives, if things go the way they're looking like they're going to go, and they probably will, the House of Representatives is going to flip in favor of the Democrats. And if you understand what happened with Nixon, Democrats had control of the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. And this is why they brought up articles of impeachment against him. Now, he was not put on trial. He resigned before he went on trial. But the first article of impeachment was abuse of power. The second article of first article of impeachment was obstruction of justice. Second article of impeachment was abuse of power. Now, who does that sound like? Okay. Now, face-to-faceafrica.com has a good article. We posted it a couple of times on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. It's entitled How Cornrows, the hairstyle cornrows, were used as an escape map from slavery across South America. How cornrows were used as an escape map from slavery across South America, okay? And in the article, it talks about cornrows have long been a facet of African beauty and life. In many African societies, braid patterns and hairstyles indicate a person's community, age, marital status, wealth, power, social position, and religion. Hairstyles are more than just hairstyles. They have symbolism. They're part of your culture. In the Caribbean, the style may be referred to as cane rows, C-A-N-E. Cornrows are referred to cane rows to represent slaves planting sugar cane and not corn. In the Caribbean, the style consists of braiding the hair very close to the scalp in an underhand upward motion, okay, in order to create a single line of raised row, a single line of raised row, creating the corn row. All right. Now, let's see here. Historically, during the transatlantic slave trade, many slaves were forced to shave their hair to be more sanitary and to also move them away from their culture and identity. But not all enslaved Africans would not keep their haircuts. Okay, but not all enslaved Africans would not keep their haircuts. Many would braid their hair tightly in cornrows and more to maintain a neat and tidy appearance. Okay. Now, enslaved Africans also used cornrows to transfer and create maps, M-A-P-S. Enslaved Africans also used cornrows to transfer and create maps to leave plantations and the home of their captors. This act of using hair as a tool for resistance is said to have been evident across South America. Read the rest of this article. We have it at our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. It's from face-to-faceafrica.com, called How Cornrows Were Used as an Escape Map from Slavery Across South America. Hey, I got to get out of here. I have to make way for Pastor Mo. He's up next. Hey, be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can donate to the African History Network there, order my DVD lectures. We have a 48-hour sale on our Black Panther 6 DVD bundle pack. You get 3 of my presentations dealing with Black Panther and 3 other lectures on sale, $45, regularly $75. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace. All right. Okay, guys, we got to get out of here. Pastor Mo is up next. Visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Thanks for tuning in. Follow us on YouTube, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP on YouTube. Okay. Thanks for watching on YouTube. We'll post some more videos, listen to the audio podcast of our shows. All right, we got to get out of here.